Hello everyone. So making a quick video. So I've got a couple of things here to show you. One is a gyroscope. So we can just go ahead and set that on the table there. So the point of this video is to explain the Age of Enlightenment and how different dimensions of rotation are connected together. So you'll notice that as this gyroscope spins, it's actually creating two different dimensions of rotation because you have spinning around the axis, and then that axis actually spins around itself. So this is the idea of E equals mc squared, because this does some very interesting things that you might not expect it to do as it decelerates. So you can see how far it's actually able to go, oops, until it hits my fingers anyways. And then once you put it here, you'll notice that it's going to start spinning around itself. And then as it slows down even further, it's going to try and flip and spin again. And that's just the idea that we have lots of different dimensions in reality that are all connected. And so as the Age of Enlightenment approaches, what we're actually doing is the largest season within our heliosphere, like a little gaseous light bulb that we call our sun, creates, just like the atmosphere of the planet. So as the sun gets closer to the black hole that's at the center of our galaxy, you get slight variations in the luminosity of the heliosphere. So if you imagine that as we experience changes in the season on the planet, the heliosphere of the sun actually experiences changes within the galaxy as it rotates. So we're coming into the Age of Enlightenment because when you look at the heliosphere, that's very significant for our planet, because as we circle around the planet, or around the star, right, behind it, the star is circling around an active galactic nuclei, a black hole. So you have that E equals mc squared, those two dimensions of rotation which are intrinsically connected. And so as we experience these varying seasons within the sun, it affects the atmosphere by virtue of the Schumann resonance. So as our planet sits, it's half being cast into light and half is always in a state of darkness as it rotates. And anytime you're talking about electrical potential, a difference in temperature is going to cause a pulsation or a flowing current of electrons. So as our sun gets closer to the black hole, its brilliance, the luminosity that's created by the sun, increases and decreases, meaning it has low points and high points just like any kind of season. And so you have essentially low points and high points in human brilliance. And the reason for that is because the atmosphere itself, that Schumann resonance, is actually directly connected to the pineal gland of the brain, which is where we get the alpha wave of the brain. So the alpha wave, which is associated with fluid creativity, calm, relaxation, and peace, is directly and intrinsically tied to the planet. They discovered that when they put people in a vibrational proofed room, right, and they filtered out that frequency, people essentially experience hysteria. They go crazy because they're being disconnected from that state of resonance. So that state of resonance is directly associated with the human imagination. So you can imagine that as the sun gets closer to the active galactic nuclei at the center of our galaxy, the imaginative processing power of our brains actually increases relative to the changes in the Schumann resonance. So the intensity of the Schumann resonance increases, and the brilliance of the average human being increases also. So human potential is on the rise. December 21st, 2012 was actually the end of an age, meaning that the older and more intelligent cultures that were in harmony with the cycles that were both greater and smaller of our planet and within our universe understood that this was the age of enlightenment. Apocalypse actually means a revelation, meaning revealing the truth. So that's what we're doing right now. I'm just trying to convince you of a little bit of the science that has been concealed and actively covered up from the human consciousness so that they would be disconnected from the unified field theory, because our entire country operates. Pharmaceuticals is all about controlling body and brain chemistry. The technology industry is all about basically surveillance and manipulation of information and people. And then, of course, you have the military, which is in the business of exterminating human beings. So as you look at these three cultures of our backbone, right? The backbone of our culture is manipulation of information, chemistry, and also murder. So they don't want people to realize that they're actually connected to the planet. So when in the 1950s, when they originally discovered the Schumann resonance's direct correlation to the pineal gland and the alpha wave in the brain, they immediately classified it as well as all the hyperstring theory and the field theory that would allow people to do things like genetic oscillation, that would allow them to reharmonize genetic structure, that would allow them to understand like mortal oscillation theory and vibrational theory that would allow them to destroy any and all microbial diseases. They covered up the Schumann resonance connection to the brain and how all bodies on the planet are connected to the planet, just like all the cells in your body are connected to your heartbeat and your mind. So we are all part of this collective consciousness, which they've essentially tried to remove people from to create a separate entity that would actively attack and destroy the rest of creation, which is what they've been doing for decades now. So it's time for people to start opening up. And as more and more people are waking up and discovering their connection with humanity and some of the sciences which have been concealed intentionally, for the same reason why all slaves are undereducated, because if somebody feels absolutely connected with the planet, feels absolutely connected with the universe, and they feel that they should or shouldn't do something, they're likely not going to follow outside advice that is contradictory to their own perception of reality, which is what the main point of influence is in the United States, is ignorance, followed by debt, followed by violence. So the idea is we're coming into the age of enlightenment. It's already begun to happen. The explanations for the universe are already flowing in faster than they can be plugged. And the reason why we're under a current administration of Donald Trump and why the materialists are fighting so hard, they're fighting for their lives, it's because they are fighting for their lives because they know and have known for more than 100 years and have been trying everything in their power to manipulate the situation, to prepare the world to maintain a state of materialism. They are destined for failure. And I couldn't be happier about that, because I'm actually one of the people that's here to help bring about the enlightenment of humanity through education. So the education that I'll be providing will not only be scientific, it will be mathematically provable, scientifically provable, with natural evidence and proof within music theory, and also spiritual evidence to back that up as well. So the idea that we're coming into a total destruction of the planet is absolutely accurate, because the current manifestation of the planet is based on slavery and indoctrination of false information. They have to maintain their false information in order to maintain the power lines, in order to maintain the debt, in order to maintain the restricted human movement and restricted human intelligence. That's the most dangerous thing that you can do in the United States, is be overly intelligent in an area where they have tried to absolutely create a vacuum of intelligence and centralize it. So that's what I'm trying to do, is decentralize the intelligence so more and more people can feel connected with the universe, can feel connected with the planet, because anything and everything that I'm teaching is in an effort to empower the planet's connection with people and to empower people's connection to the universe so that they're no longer so easily malleable, so they can feel enlightened in their hearts, meaning not stressed out, not terrorized, not in a state of fear. And so they can feel enlightened in their mind, unburdened by the fear of chaos and unburdened by the uncertainty of the future and what it holds for them. So right now we're in a major transition on the planetary scale. So the technologies for water, for food, for energy, they're all going to be getting a major upheaval and an upgrade. And that's one of my main goals, is actually to help with the water situation, because just like gas can be illuminated by the proper technology, you can vaporize water, which can be illuminated and kill any and all bacteria, so that we can finally free ourselves from the most toxic water on the planet. We are the only nation on the planet which puts rat poison in the water. Sodium fluoride, before it was used in the water to prevent cavities, was sold as rat poison. So the idea that it's there for your benefit is just idiocy. And we can come up with much better technologies, because plasma activated water will actually make plants grow faster, not just eliminate chemicals from the water chain. And not only that, it's antibacterial for the first few minutes, about 15 to 20 minutes after being charged. It's actually one of the most potent antibacterial compounds that you can get, and it is as cheap as water. Producing water this way is actually less expensive and way less harmful, both to the environment and the human energy system, than our current means of receiving water. And that's all just to do with human beings are no longer going to be slaves of political elites who have turned their back on humanity in favor of being essentially accepted by the corporate elitists, who have been for a very long time trying to control the resources on this planet. And so this monolithic effort that's being made to create a one world order will succeed, but not in the way that they are expecting. The one world order will be created by the people who are actually a part of the planet, and the people who are currently trying to create the one world order will be destroyed as cancer within the planet. Because any cell within the body that tries to grow exponentially and restrict resources to other parts of the body is cancerous and also deadly. If we continue following the people who we've been currently following for more than 100 years now in the United States, it will ultimately result in catastrophe on a planetary scale, which is why people like me and many, many, many others are all working towards planetary solutions that work for the planet, that work for the people, and that work for the cellular biology that people are comprised of. Just like every cell in your body is connected to your heart and your mind, every being on the planet is connected to the Schumann resonance and the planetary oscillations as a planetary body. So spreading that knowledge will help us further take the steam out of any argument that bombing or genocide of another portion of the planet is helpful or productive. So destroying resources in order to accumulate resources is probably the dumbest plan for maintaining those resources for future generations. So I'd like to create some better technology solutions for water, for food, and of course for energy, so that we can create for ourselves a much better future. So this is just me trying to be the change that I wish to see in the world, because I desire that the world be better for future generations, for my nieces and nephews, and for their children and their children's children, rather than becoming progressively worse, more polluted, dirty, and violent. So those are really the two options. Obviously, I choose the former, and the latter doesn't sound like much of an option at all, and it doesn't really work for 99.9% of the people, which is why most people are not really that excited about what's going on. But I think you should be excited, because for the first time in American history, the bigotry and racism, which has been leading this country from behind the scenes, has reared its ugly orange head, so that we can go ahead and chop it off. So that's where we're at, ladies and gentlemen. We're at a point where change is inevitable, And the people that are desiring the change are already here, and they're already positioning themselves to make this change happen. It's not just me. There are millions of people around the world who are actively working towards planetary solutions. And I just wanted to share a little information with you so that you can better understand what this age of enlightenment is, why it's happening, and what's going to happen next. So thanks so much for listening. You have yourself a wonderful day, and welcome to the age of enlightenment.